Azfar, I hope you're feeling well.
हाँ मैं सही हूँ लग
I think we're live.
आप लोग okay.
I'm not sure. I'm still waiting for the.
Go ahead, sign. Yeah. नहीं वो आ तो गया उसके ऊपर वो उसमें भी 1-2 मिनट लेता है.
हाँ तो we're still, I think इसमें तकरीबन 30 seconds लगेंगे, so we're still going to wait.
Okay.
Live on Facebook लिखवा रहे हैं ना अभी ये.
Okay, you're live. You can go.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Today we have a lovely set of panelists जिनसे हम बात करेंगे और जो हमारे पास the topic is the virtual shift, meaning the new norm, जो कि है working from home. So recently most of us have experienced जो कि कोरोना की वजह से most of us are working from home and it's quite challenging. We had many challenging things that we had to go through. We have 3 panelists. Let me just briefly introduce them. We have Muhammad Azfar Ahsan, who is an IVLP alumni, founder, Nutshell Conferences and Corporate Pakistan Group, PUAN, Karachi chapter. Then we have Iftikhar Hussain, IVLP, Head of Digital Women Development Department, Government of Punjab, PUAN, Lahore chapter. And the third panelist we have Amna Yameen, Fulbright alumni, Educationist, PUAN, ISB chapter. Welcome all of you. And it's lovely having you. So let's just get into the topic. I've noticed that जैसे ही corona का वो हुआ and all of us, most of us had to work from home. One of the challenges that I personally faced was working from home and getting into the rhythm. This is one of the things I personally felt. Yani ke, you know, getting that thing of making the momentum, creating the momentum and getting yourself in the mood. Because usually we're so used to going to offices and we have that routine. Lekin jab aap ghar se kaam karte, it gets a bit challenging. So Amna, what is your take on that? Making or creating the rhythm?
I think, Seema, you have to understand that whenever human beings are faced with a calamity, our innate response is either to go into a fight mode or a flight mode. But the challenge with COVID was like, how do you fight something that you don't see, right? And yet again, you can't completely run away from it. So I think in terms of creating the momentum, you have to create that shift in the mindset. One of the biggest challenges of COVID-19 personally for me was that there is no separation of boundaries anymore, right? So there's like a chunk of home tasks that you have to do, and that's juxtaposed with the work tasks that you have to do. So there's no emotional and physical demarcation of boundaries. So I think the first thing that I did to create a momentum was to physically have a separate space in my house, which was reserved for the work. So I think optically that matters when you have a designated area where you have to work. Other than that, I remember initially, you know, I was very happy to, oh my God, you know, I don't have to drive to work. So I was sitting and working from home in my PJs. And then I realized that it's not helping me gain that momentum. So doing the simple tasks, like even if nobody's coming to your house, making your bed, getting out of your PJs, dressing up. So that's what I did. Like I would change my clothes, I'll get out of my night dress just to have that momentum going. Also, I think one of the other challenges that COVID kind of like, I think, put on our plates is that it's a challenge and an opportunity at the same time that it opened up the digital world for us. So there was also the blurring of time boundaries, right? So pehle 9 to 5 agar aap kaam kar rahe ho, so now 24/7 you're connected. So then I kind of like demarcated, okay, even if I'm not going to work, this is the time jahan pe I'll be handling the work calls, work meetings, and this is the time that I'm simply going to give to myself. So I think these few pointers help me build the momentum towards that work shift.
You know, you said something really interesting. Abhi main ye soch rahi thi ki why, because I had been working from home even before COVID. So for me, this was something I had been working since a long time. And I believe when you're working from home, one of the most important things is self-discipline, which you have to sort of be really well-disciplined. Achha, one of the things that I want to ask you is that really, is it really important that you know, the way when we go to offices, we sort of dress up and we're not in our PJs. The moment we dress up and we look good, we get in the mood of working. So you just mentioned that sort of wasn't an aspect for you. So do you believe it's something that's just not, that's something everybody can relate to, and that really does matter when you have to work from home? Not just the space, but the way we sort of dress up, it instantly changes.
I do agree. See, you have to understand that with self-discipline, in order to have self-discipline, you have to inculcate the element of responsibility. So Keniko, maybe these tasks look very small. For example, getting out of bed and making sure that you're making the bed, but that puts a structure to your day. In order to have that self-discipline, you need to have that structure. And that structure is important because no external factor is motivating you to have that structure. So like, it might seem very minute, getting out of bed, making your bed, dressing up. But the fact of the matter is that it's giving you that needed structure and that sense of responsibility towards yourself. In addition to that, I think for self-discipline, you also need to have those self-defined goals. Like, for example, before going to bed at night, I would have this work schedule in place, where I would demarcate, okay, this is the chunk that I'm going to dedicate to my house chores. These are the important work meetings and work calls that I have to make. So I'm creating a list of goals. So organization, it's easy because you're working with your supervisor, you're working with your head of department. So they kind of help you in establishing that structure and goals. But I think the biggest challenge of COVID-19 is that the sole responsibility lies with you, how you go about it.
Thank you so much. I would sort of extend this question and move on to Iftikhar. Iftikhar, like, she said, I sort of, before going to sleep, I write it down and I have sort of a list with me that I work. One of the things that I feel is, how do you sort of separate it? Because, when you go to office, when you go to work, you physically go there. And then when you come home, that's separated. Like, there are two different lives that you're leading. But when you're working from home, it's like, how do you get your phone and get a work email and sort of tell yourself this is not the time, and just sort of allocate the time? How do you separate these two things? And I feel there might be moments where you can't separate your work. You don't get time to sort of rest. How do you do that?
Well, thank you very much, Seema and Amna, for setting up the momentum of this session. COVID-19, as you guys know that after every century, such sort of calamity or catastrophe occurs in the world, and we were hit by plague or disease in the past as well. But this COVID-19 has exponential growth in a very few months, and it took over the whole world. And it is because that we are so well connected with the social media and the technology as well. जो इंफॉर्मेशन हमारे तक जो उनसा है वो एक महीने तक पहुंचती थी, वो कुछ घंटों तक ही यहाँ पे पहुंच जाती है. And it actually create a fear in the world that this happening to us, and that changes the dynamics of our surrounding. So first of all, तो ये है कि ये एकदम से हमारे पास आ गया, and we were not mentally prepared for these things. Second thing, I second to Amna कि आप जब रात को सोने लगते हैं, so she created a list of to-do list के लिए मैंने अगले दिन क्या करना है और आज के दिन का जो उनसे वो analysis किया जाता है. And I did the same thing before COVID-19, but it is very difficult to manage this new routine, and we are still learning that how we can make it more out of it. But now at this point of time, my nature of work changed. I was actually working with the government, and now I am working with a global team as well. So my timings are changed, not due to the COVID-19, but the nature of my business actually. So it's almost working from home around 19 hours, but it's so what I do, these things, and I second to Amna that she set a pace. So before, from February, it was very difficult to work, in this scenario. So after, April, I set up a place at my home, and I mentally, trying to convince myself that this is a place that I have to work. This is my office. And and that changed the dynamics, and for that I have to dress up and work from computer. But the most important thing that I experienced, that we have to, for example, जैसे भी हम ये live session कर रहे हैं, and so we can see each other, and it actually motivates me that I can see in your eyes, I can see Amna's face, so it gives me energy. Okay, so these people are in front of me. So mostly people get frustrated when camera is off and they are looking up these screens, and in the meeting, and their colleagues screens are turned off, so it you know gives a negative vibes mentally, so they are not mentally prepared for these things. सो हमारे अंदर जब भी हम मीटिंग्स के अंदर जाते थे, तो हम लोगों को देख के जोक्स करते थे, उससे पहले गप्पे लगाते थे, और देन वी मीटिंग वगैरह स्टार्ट करते थे, चाय वगैरह पकड़ के लेकर आते थे, मग्स वगैरह अपने साथ. सो नाउ इन दिस टाइमिंग ये वाली चीज़ें अब नहीं हो रही, जिसकी वजह से हमारी एनर्जीज जो सी हैं वो बहुत ज़्यादा जो सा है वो डिस्टर्ब हो रही हैं, और वी आर अनेबल टू डू दैट वन. उसके लिहाज से जो मैंने इस रिदम को सेट करने की कोशिश की कि पहले मैं वॉक जोन से था वो 15 मिनट की करता था, एंड आई सिंपली डिड अ सेशन विद वन ऑफ द साइकोलॉजिस्ट, एंड शी मेंशन्ड that we have to do a 10,000 step walk every day, and this is very very essential for everybody around us. I know for the older people it is a bit difficult, but for the millennial age we have to do an hour walk for us, for shift ourselves from the work mode to our my space, the personal time that we can spend our time uh, on our body specifically. So I think that these are the things that changed my routine from shifting from work from home, from the office scenario overall.
Lovely, Iftikhar. It's so interesting how the COVID just happened to us and we weren't expecting it. And then listening to Amna and then listening to Iftikhar, I just get this idea that as humans, we're all so related. And most of the problems that I faced, I see you people talk about the same thing. It's like we experienced it coming and then we were sort of learning from our experiences. 1 month was we were just in a shock. And then the second month, we sort of adapted and we learned from it. Thank you. So relatable, and thank you for talking about vibes. I totally believe in that, and I totally believe that when you see other people working, when they get online, and I hope when other people see us online, they'll understand that work doesn't stop and you can still work from home. And 10K steps, yes, exercise definitely matters. I think it definitely, and this is the time where we cannot neglect exercise. Let me talk to our third panelist, Azfar Saab, and I think his mic is mute. So my question to him is that, how important is it to get into a repeatable rhythm, especially for the employees? Being the CEO and founder of two organizations, so, you are in a better position to tell us how to help the employees to get into that rhythm of working.
First of all, I'm grateful to you, Seema, and also the Pakistan-U.S. Alumni Network and the U.S. Mission in Pakistan for hosting this session and inviting me as well as the alumni. And I'm one of the founding members of Pakistan-U.S. Alumni Network. This was created in 2008 when N.W. Peterson was U.S. ambassador. So very good memories. And of course, your topic is about work from home and online. I must say that I'm not an expert of this topic. I'm not a strategist for this topic. And I'm a very non-techie person. But yes, I was initially earlier, before this lockdown, working globally. And we were using the social mediums, the WhatsApp and Facebook and LinkedIn, YouTube accordingly. And my nature of work, my work is actually conferences and international conferences and trainings and consulting work. So as per my nature also, I love traveling. So most of the time I was in traveling. And for example, my head office is Karachi, my one office is in Lahore, but most of the time I'm in Islamabad. And we started in Dubai as well. So all the time I was moving here and there. So frankly, I was used to with this online medium without being a techie person. So thanks to digital, that this is very easy to everyone for everyone, and this is all about your habit. So I throughout this time, I never felt for the work side that this is difficult for me, because my team was used to with me to interact wherever I am. My mobile is my office, so this was nothing new for us. uh, Only the personal side, of course, sometime you are only in one side, and because of the lockdown and everything, this was the emotional side you have to manage. And but one thing I learned in last almost 3 months, that we are now more focused. And what is my learning about my own team as well and myself as well, that we are more focused, we are more result oriented, we are more productive, because uh, because of the overall environment. You are bound to be online, you are bound to work accordingly. And when there is nothing else regarding the outing and the dinners and the socializing and the traveling, so you have enough time. So, of course, self discipline is very important. But because of the self discipline, what is we are achieving, that we are more focused, we are more productive. This is our learning as far as my company is concerned. As far as even my employees, sometimes they are ups and they are down. So this is as the CEO of my company. My company is very small, but my responsibility to is to understand them also, because if sometime someone is not well, if sometime someone is unwell, so I tried always to look after them, even from the distance. And there are ways to look after your team, because in my company there is a family environment, there is no boss type culture, everyone is empowered. So that's why everyone owned the company. There is nothing need to tell my employees that, even I hate to call them my employees, they are my team members actually. So I never asked them that do this, do this, do this. No, they always do the things on their own. My responsibility as the manager is to look after them, is to identify the targets. We are almost on daily basis, we are doing the internal meetings thanks to Zoom as well, and our internal WhatsApp groups are the best mediums to communicate with each other. So this is the first thing as far as the nutshell is concerned. But as far as the Corporate Pakistan Group is concerned, I want to share with the audience that Corporate Pakistan Group is a classic example of disruption. And this was much related with this work from online and digital space. 5 years back, we started this group as a WhatsApp group. Trust me, this was WhatsApp group. Today, there are 256 members because of the maximum capacity. But this is Pakistan's actual national intelligence here, and all the top corporate and business leaders, the top CEOs, the business owners, the IT experts, the ministers, the seven mainstream political parties of Pakistan are members. So we are a political group. So there are ministers, senators, the federal secretaries are there, education experts, people like Dr. Ataur Rahman, Dr. Javed Laghari, they all are members. And then all the energy experts, all the media practitioners, major media practitioners, the channel owners, the foreign policy experts, the police officials, the serving and retired officers of Army, Navy, Air Force, few diplomats, Pakistani diplomats based in different countries. So they all are members. So we are US Alumni Network. So last year we hosted US Ambassador Paul in our one of our session. Later we hosted a dinner with him, dinner discussion with him. So on monthly basis we were doing meetings and dinners and get-togethers in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, and Dubai as well. But when lockdown started, what was our first activity? We decided, because this is the most influential group of Pakistan, so we decided to initiate a fundraising, online fundraising between our members. And trust me, without single rupee transaction, cash transaction, we generated 21 million rupees in 48 hours. And what we did, without going outside, wherever we were, we engaged three credible organizations. One was a Huwat Foundation, one was Betu Salam, and one was Orange Tree Foundation in Karachi. So we equally distributed the money to all of them. And through them, we distributed the food and ration to thousands of families for almost 1 month. So this happened as a classic example of using digital space, using the workplace on your digital, and we did this. What happened later that we hosted several seminars, we hosted several sessions, but last month I initiated one local organization approach us to build a laboratory for viral diseases. So this is not only restricted with the COVID, but this is a long-term project, and the total cost was around 25 million initially. The running expenses are different, so we again started the same thing in our group, and we generated extra 25 lakh rupees. So this was 27.5 million. Now this is opening in next 1 week in Karachi, and this will operate and this will serve the millions of Karachitis on very affordable prices. So this is another example of disruption and working online for the social causes as well, because I know that majority of our members, especially from Islamabad, are affiliated with the donor agencies or working in the social sector, and even people from education sector. These are the best practices. So I'm not expert, but I shared 3 or 4 points from my own practice what we did. So maybe there are a few learnings for our participants as well.
Thank you so much. That was enlightening. Thank you. My next question is for Amna. And Amna, as we initially now, we all of us as employees, as CEOs, as workers, we had to shift from make this a new norm working from home. Do you believe that once COVID is over, once everything is normal, getting back to normal, and we have to start working the way we used to work, do you think we will need time to get back to how it was before that, the way we need time right now? Or do you think it will be an easy shift?
I think, Seema, every change requires that space for adaptation. I feel like COVID-19 required us to redefine our identities, redefine our role responsibilities, redefine what the new norm has to be. So I anticipate challenges when we go back. So for example, a lot of parents who it's easier for them to work from home these days, that's going to be a challenge for them. Redefining the role responsibilities, redefining the physical space, redefining their priorities. So I think what I'm anticipating that it is going to take us time to shift back and redefine the new norm again. So yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge when we go back.
So it's like initially we have to take a few months getting into this and then a few more months getting back to the normal.
I think the supervisors and our leadership has a huge role to play in that. And I think one aspect that COVID-19 brought forward is the aspect of empathy. Before COVID-19, leadership was defined in a very different way. I think during COVID-19, we have understood that empathy and giving people that platform to listen and to address their concerns, that's important as well. So in that shift, I think that the leadership would have to play a very different kind of role, where initially I think empathy probably, took a back seat, and that has to be at the forefront of this shift.
Thank you, Amna. Iftikhar, what do you have to say about the positive aspects of the new norm? Most of us know that, it happened and we're complaining about the tech and about so many things. Believe there is anything positive we can take from this?
Yes, सबसे पहले, I can understand that we save time for commuting from our home to office, and specifically in Karachi when we, used to come to Karachi so we have to, on our toes for example, if we have a meeting at 2, so we have to, on our toes at 12, because there is always, a lot of rush, and the same things happening in Lahore as well. There is a lot of traffic jam, happening due to the construction of, bridges and all that stuff. So in such timings, we save a lot of commuting time. On the other hand, we always complained in the normal routine before the COVID-19 that we don't have time to spend with our families. So there is abundance of time that you can spend with your loved ones. Uh, I think that these are the two positive things that we experienced in this scenario. Uh, Second thing, we always complained that we are working all the time, and we don't have time for ourselves, so we don't work out. So in this scenario, when we are saving time, so this is I experienced this thing that I have time for my walk specifically. So I'm doing my walk in the further timings, and I do that one in the evening. Before that, I was unable to do that, and now I spend more time with my mother as well. Before that, when I used to leave home for office, she was sleeping, and when I returned home, she almost in the sleep as well. So it I have to wait for weeks to talk to my mother. So in such timings, I see that these are the positive things, that I have spent more time with my mother and my family, and work on myself. I have time to read and self reflection on myself specifically. So these are the positive things in my surrounding, and I think that everyone should take maximum out of these things, that they should spend time with their family, they should spend time on this on themselves, on their learning. So there is a famous thing that this is a time for learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we have to follow these things, and I'm working on that one. Yeah.
I also believe that when most of us had to go to work, we we obviously going, transport, and then coming back, it would take a lot of time. It would waste a lot of time. For
Yeah,
example, I think at least 1.5 to 2 hours and just going there and then coming back.
exactly.
So we're definitely saving that. We're saving on our time, and I think that way we have much more time to work in that
Exactly.
sense. Yes, because
Exactly.
जब आप when you're in offices आप notice करें we have lunch breaks. We have 1 hour lunch break. लेकिन lunch break पे then उससे पहले half an hour पहले you're like sort of preparing yourself for the lunch
Yeah.
break, and then
कि
when you
lunch पे
come
किधर जाना
and
हमने.
yeah, and then when you come back you've just had lunch, so again आपका थोड़ा सा time waste होता है, and then again you while you're going you're talking to your colleague, तो उसमें talking उसमें time ज़ाया हो जाता है. But when you're working from home it's just you and your time and your laptop. So मैंने notice किया है there are times when I'm having my lunch and also working at the same time, because आपने काम तो करना, it's all about you. So now, thank you so much, Iftikhar. Moving on to my third question from Azfar, that is self-discipline. How important is self-discipline, which Amna also mentioned. Lekin at the same time, I also want to know, and I would also want to learn, how do we get into self-discipline? What are the things that you would recommend, that the blah blah blah, these are the things you must do to be a self-disciplined person?
Uh, First of all, the global community is completely restricted in their homes, or at least in their cities. And still, in majority countries, people are working from home or using the offices. Not everyone is using offices. For example, in Dubai, the whole Dubai is open, but not everyone is going to office. So what we should understand that this is a big crisis, a global crisis. And this time, this crisis is not in your own country, but this is global. So this will impact more. And if this will continue for the next few months, so the Planning Commission of Pakistan estimate is around 17 to 18 million individuals in Pakistan will lose their jobs. Now, this is up to us that if we are employee of any organization, and first of all, many organizations already, release their employees. They downsize because they are unable to afford their salaries and overall benefits. But all employees who are working, they should understand and they should pay thanks to Allah that their jobs are still secure, because in only in US 40 million individuals lost their jobs. 40 million, 4 crore. This is a huge number. I read it 3 or 4 times that this number is correct or not when I read it first time, but this is authentic number, around 40 million. So, the jobs are not anywhere. Even in the Middle East market, people are returning to their homes, not only in Pakistan, but all the countries. Massive downsizing because the travel industry completely collapsed. The hotel industry, the airlines, the many tour operators I know that they close their business or they are in real trouble. And maybe after some time they will close their business. Same is the export business. Many large size manufacturers who have 2,000 employees, 2,500, they can't afford the salaries and everything. So we should pay thanks to everyone that we are still working, and this should bring us the accountability and some productivity element. So this is the time to be self-disciplined. Number one. Number two, I want to connect this point with the overall global, trend which will impact the workplace after a few months. And this is the post-COVID world. Of course, in Pakistan and in many other countries, we are still waiting for the peak. But globally, this will be normalized in next 1 year or 2 year. For example, Emirates Airline announced that they will be completely normalized like January 2020 in January 2023. So this is the global scenario. And of course, after a few months, gradually the work will start, the travel will start, but the impact is big. So, what is the lesson for all of us? The lesson is that we should focus on our weaknesses and we should focus on our strengths and we should work accordingly. Whatever are our weaknesses, we should overcome and we should upgrade ourselves, upgrade our skills. This is the time to work on your skills, because this is not necessary that whatever you are doing today, this is not necessary to you continue the same thing after some time. There are disruptions happening all over, and there are opportunities. In every crisis, there is a famous saying that in every crisis, there is an opportunity. And this is not a buzzword, this is a reality. For example, in my industry, the virtual sessions are happening like we are doing right now. Virtual conferences are happening, but the physical conference is stopped. I postponed my conference of March in Islamabad, which is Pakistan's biggest conference, just 1 week before the conference. And this was the right decision in the end because the travel banned and everything banned. Next, we postponed it to July. Now we are hosting in October. But of course, this is the crisis time for our industry. But what is new? What is new opportunity? But because we bound to use this online, we bound to use the virtual sessions. And now I'm attending some global conferences. I attended Financial Times conference, IBM Think conference, and the new platforms are available, new softwares are available. After some time, after a few months, the normal traffic will be over, but the serious audience will be here. So for the training and conference industry, for the learning industry, this will be a big hit. This is a big opportunity. And ultimately, after some time, after maybe 1 year, this will help our physical conferences as well. So this is beneficial to create your global network, to maintain your global network, and to engage everyone from all over the world. For example, we hosted Diversity and Inclusion Conference last month. This was a virtual conference. We decided and we hosted just after 9 days. We hosted 25 international speakers and around 1 million participants watched this conference from 32 countries. The Facebook statistics are with us. 32 countries, 1 million plus audience. So this is the power of digital. So what we should understand about the self discipline, how to bring the self discipline, we should understand that before lockdown, this world was moving gradually towards the smartest and the fastest. There was no survival of weakest or the very slow individual or company. But the post-COVID world will be only for the smartest people. And this is a huge opportunity. This is an open opportunity to expand your business, to expand your network, and expand your work, whatever you are doing. And also evaluate or observe in your surroundings or through, the digital mediums, that what is happening around the world, what is needed right now. Some of my very good friends who are doing amazing work, they are right now, doing some work related to the healthcare sector, and they are earning good money. So there are a lot of other opportunities in the post-COVID world. So this is up to us. There is, just like we are bound to use the physical virtual medium, this is up to us that we want to be in the backward age or we want to uh, moving with the world. So this is up to us. There is no choice actually. There is no motivation factor actually. We should first evaluate, we should first investigate, observe, and understand where the world is moving. And when we will understand this, there will be no other option for us except to focus, except to be disciplined, and except to upgrade our skills we are weak. There is no other opportunity that you will only continue where you are, very good. If you have everyone in the world have some weaknesses and some positive points. So we should overcome our weaknesses. So this is my message for the self-discipline.
Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. I think when we when we face a crisis like this, we have two options. So one option is either we complain, we nag, and we don't do anything about it. Uh, and the second option we have is we accept it, we adapt, and we learn to move on. And I believe this is a chance to learn and upgrade your skills. Definitely, I think this is the time, and we should see it as an opportunity. Now it's the time to, we're letting the audience ask questions, and we have a very interesting question. The question that we have here is from our students, and they're saying, any views about students in the current situation? What do you think this new shift will affect the quality of our work? So yeah, Amna, what is your view about this?
Okay, so thank you for that question. I think what students have to understand is that one of the biggest things that they would be struggling with is the shift of the mindset, as I already mentioned. So since like on an average, I think I deal with 300 to 400 individuals per week. So most of my work is with undergrads and grads. In addition to that, I conduct industry engagements. We recently started a leadership project for girls. It's based on the Harvard Kennedy School platform. I also work as a part-time trainer consultant, and yet again, I run my own passion project. So even from my own point of view, I think I struggled with motivation. Even when you want to get the work done, I think it's okay to accept that there's something missing, right? Because we're not prepared for that. And that's the same thing that I experienced with my own students. So they were not only required to shift their skill set, they were also required to shift their mindset. So one thing that I practice with my students, right, rather than focusing on long-term goals, and I think that goes against a lot of leadership theories that we study. We're always focusing on the long run, but with COVID, we can't see what's beyond the horizon. So that's a challenge for students. So what I do is that I ask them to focus on this short-term goals and make sure that whatever they're trying to achieve in that short period of time, they do it to the 100%. So for example, if I'm having a 3-hour session with the students, I'll make sure that for those 3 hours, my sessions are engaging, my sessions are productive, and I manage to achieve that particular outcome. Also for students, I think I also help them to understand that see the world as a global phenomena now. So for example, initially you had to go to a particular country to do the internship. There are a lot of distant internship opportunities available. UN platform offers distant opportunities. So imagine working for, a top organization like United Nations and having that on the resume. You can sign up for certification courses. There's a lot of faculty from around the world who is willing to teach you. So by sitting at home, you are tapping into these amazing resources, right? And yet again, as Sir Azfar mentioned as well, and Iftikhar mentioned as well, there are a lot of global training opportunities available. So I think the students have to try to see beyond what's the horizon, because I know it's a challenge in COVID-19. Also, for students particularly, I would advise that identify your demotivators. One thing that inhibits you to move towards your particular goal is by being surrounded by these demotivators. So it could be like, lack of a good support system. Social media has become a demotivator for a lot of people. So identify your demotivators and try to minimize them. So I think that's my take on the question.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I believe one of the things that we need to change is the mindset. Iftikhar, what do you have to say about that? Because at the moment, I see that even before trying or even before going online, we have sort of made up our mind and we have sort of decided that it's not going to work. So, like, how about we just try to make it work? How about we just try to attend those classes and then see how it works? So what do you have to say about that?
अच्छा, सबसे पहले स्टूडेंट्स का तो मसला वाकई बहुत ज़्यादा है, बिकॉज हम भी इस दौर से गुजरे हैं, एंड वी नेवर वेंट टू कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी फॉर स्टडी. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी हैव टू एडमिट दैट वन. और सबसे ज़्यादा जो उन्हें मसला हो रहा है वो पढ़ने का है, बिकॉज दे हैव नॉट टू चैट विद देयर फ्रेंड्स. क्लास में भी बैठ के अब सुनना पड़ता है, क्योंकि घर में बैठे हैं तो और तो कुछ है नहीं करने को, तो स्क्रीन के सामने बैठ कर एक्चुअल में सुनना पड़ता है. सो दैट इज एक्चुअली फ्रस्ट्रेट देम when they have to actual work on these things, because we don't have our friends around us. We can't make jokes while studying, while listening to the teachers on the screen specifically. So these are the things that our students are not mentally ready for it. And and our academia was not up to that level where they can do the engagement on the live sessions when they are teaching. So there is a lot of pressure from both ends, that how one has to engage the students, and the other side of the students, that how they have to take interest in the online sessions. So both rifts are going on. So I was having this session with one of the most premium school, the virtual session, and they asked me the same question, 2 months ago, and I told them, because we have abundance of time at home. So first of all, I detached myself from the mainstream media, and on the other hand, I was in deep depression. So I, unplugged my WhatsApp and the Facebook. And in these timings when I don't have to work on, I don't have to see my mobile so much, and I see the stats that I was using my mobile for 6 hours. It's before March 2020, and now there is a report from the application that I reduced from 58 minutes, from 6 hours, from 58 minutes in whole 24 hours, and now in such timings I dedicate this thing by reading a lot. I am not reading articles. In fact, I am reading more the books that I have put in my to-do list. So I read almost 9, 10, 11 books in 3 months, and that gave me a lot of knowledge, and that how we have to take most out of these difficult timings. So and when you are reading a book, so it gives you a lot of knowledge that you can make more productive on yourself, on your work, on your surrounding. So I think that, and we are not a nation of reading, so we have to inculcate the reading scenario in our daily lives, and that can boost our energies as well. When we come to know and we realize that we don't know about these things, now we know and we have to work on. So these are the things that really helped me in last 4 months.
We sort of have to unlearn and forget the way we were, and sort of try to be open about their new lifestyle. That's what I get from it. We have another interesting question. I think all the students are watching this and they have so many questions. So they have another question and they're saying that any of the panelists can answer this. They're saying, what about those students who are in the villages and they have no internet? So how can we attend classes? How do we have exams? हमारा भी तो सोचें. So they're desperately, they just want you to say that let them stay there and not study. Like, what do you have to say for those people who have no internet, no access? How do they go for online classes?
I think I feel like that the learning process has to work in collaboration. So for example, the teachers can't do their job if the people who are providing the right kind of technology don't also, put their share into it. But for students, I would like recommend that, one aspect is to also take ownership of your learning. Also come up with possibilities of how the educationist and how the education system can facilitate and support you. So I think a lot of people, when we were having these complaints coming in, a lot of students were complaining, they went online, they started an entire, movement on that. And yeah, a lot of my fellow colleagues were like against that. And I told them that it's important to encourage dissent in a certain way and see which feedback you can take and, enhance your learning process. So, but it's also responsibility of a student to clarify their intentions and focus on enhancing the learning process rather than focusing on the comfort zone. So there are different mediums that an education system can adopt. For example, you can make the learning synchronous, or you can make the learning asynchronous. So this sessions can happen real time, like we're having right now, face to face. Obviously, that would require greater bandwidth and access to internet and technology. But the process can also be asynchronous. Like, for example, you can create dashboards, you can give the learning material in advance, and then you can use technology and even apps which can be downloaded on the mobile phones and then collaborate through that. So education does not mean that you have to do real-time learning. It can take various forms, but at the same time, the students also have to take ownership of the learning, because that's how the learning process is going to take place.
Lovely. What do you have to say about examinations? Do you think it's something they should go through?
Yet again, Seema, my take is different, because you can see that the student body is fragmented and divided, right? So for example, if I'm dealing with students in Islamabad, Lahore, and Karachi, I know that they're privileged in a certain way. If I'm teaching students, like a lot of my students are in areas where they don't have good internet. So we're working accordingly. So initially we decided that we're going to have exams online for a certain time period. But then when students' feedback started coming in, we decided to address that feedback. So what we did, that we gave them a week's timeline. So it was a take-home assignment, it was a take-home exam, and then they had a week's timeline too. So what I'm saying is that there are various formats to go about it. And I know that exam has a very negative connotation to it. You can design an exam in a way where students are encouraged to go online, research material, and they are encouraged to dig for new information and then attempt that exam. So like we have to shift our mindset about what exam means, right?
Lovely. We have an interesting question, and the question is from Iftikhar Hussain. It says, hello Iftikhar Hussain, how many hours do you spend online for other people?
So I just mentioned that you have to detach yourself from the social media, but I didn't say that you don't have to work on the technology tools. So actually, why I said that, because in February, March, when this happening all around us, so there was so much negativity on the social media before COVID-19, and the mainstream media was just create a lot of panic around us. So there is a lot of depression, and I felt that one, and there was my energy was drained a lot. So I stopped myself for consuming a lot of negative information. So I didn't use Facebook, WhatsApp specifically. So I was using Twitter a little bit to just update myself, but I am not using Facebook and WhatsApp a lot, because it takes a lot of your time. So use your time effectively, rather than just आप अपना हाथ हिला रहे हैं और अपनी न्यूज़ फीड को देखते जा रहे हैं. So and you are doing aimlessly. So my perspective that you have to use your these timings very very carefully, that how you want to consume this information. You can read a lot, you can work on your assignments, that you can extend your as Asfar bhai mentioned कि जी कि आप अपनी global reach को बढ़ाएं, and you can learn from those people, you can learn from those students in foreign countries. So you can effectively use this social media rather than using it with no gain.
I'll quickly take another question, so everybody gets a chance to ask questions. The question says, don't you think we're trying to build same lifestyle virtually? Work from home requires a lot from employees, teachers, and businesses.
Asfar bhai can answer this question.
Yes, so yeah, that's the question.
What's the question?
The question is that don't you think we're trying to build same lifestyle virtually? So work from home requires a lot from employees, teachers, and businesses, because we're trying to build the same lifestyle virtually.
Actually, one thing we should understand that virtual is very good, very effective, and but there is no alternate of physical working. For example, I'm not an educationist, but if you recall your school days and your college days and university days, okay, the online workshops or online training or online education is very good, but real learning is always in physical movement. If you are going to school, if you are going to the university, so you are interacting with dozens of your colleagues, students from different minds. If there are 25 students in your class, so there are 25 different minds. There are 25 different backgrounds. There are teachers, there are school staff, and everything. So this is indirect learning for everyone. And same is the concept of the workplace as well. Workplace, the actual workplace and the movement and the travel for the work is a real learning. Of course, because of this Google and digital, everything is available online. If you want to read something, everything is available. There are thousands and thousands of articles and hundreds of books of each subject. But real learning is always based on experiences. That's why since our childhood, we are listening that there is a learning when you are travel to somewhere, whether you are traveling alone or you are traveling in a group. So real life experiences are always important, mandatory for your personality development, because we are not robots, we are humans. But we should keep this in mind. But this is of course for some time, for few months only. Trust me, few months. We should be optimistic also. And another thing, that for example in my life I was busy like anything, and all the time I was traveling. Iftikhar knows me, where I was traveling all the time. Now I'm in a place since last 3 months, in a same place since last 3 months. But this is sometimes good also, because sometime I decided to take a break, but there was no break, and this was difficult. That world is moving and you are taking the breaks. This was very difficult. So this is a time to evaluate ourselves, concentrate on ourselves, uh, define our priorities, because there are multiple learnings apart from the working. There are multiple learnings from this COVID. Nothing happened in this world without any reason. This is our trust on God, that God created everything because of some reason. So there are reasons, and I'm optimistic. I'm seeing that the post COVID world is very good, and we should act accordingly. And there should be a limit of commercialization as well. So after a long time, we are interacting with our old friends. We are interacting without any work, because we are not machines. Actually, we were in the wrong direction. Now we will restart, but we should restart with some objectivity as well. We should act as a human, not as machine, money-making machine, or just for the sake of our own interest. We should serve the community. We should serve people in our surrounding. This is our responsibility. At least the educated class in any country is blessed. This is a blessing from Allah. This is blessing of God, and we should channelize and utilize this blessing for the others. This is selfishness from our side. If we will look after only our family and only our own friends, we should work for others as well. So these are the lessons. It's up to us that whether we will lose this opportunity or we will upgrade ourselves, we will concentrate ourselves and set the new direction. And I think this is a good disruption. At least I'm very positive on all aspects. Of course, despite this is a very tough time for everyone, and God protect us in every country. But after this time, वो कहते हैं ना कि आज रात है बट कल सुबह सूरज निकलेगा तो मे बी के कुछ घंटे बाद निकलेगा बट निकलेगा and we should believe on this theory.
Thank you. और इसके साथ I'll take the last question. Last question, I think you pretty much answered it, लेकिन फिर भी मैं पूछ लेती हूँ. That is, with this new shift, do you believe the quality of work is going to get affected? So we're going to quickly answer this in a minute and then we'll be done.
I think I'm just going to add my 2 bits to it. I feel like that quality has to be complemented with the right kind of tools. As Azfar mentioned, a very important thing that we also have to act as human beings. So I think one aspect that has become core of the new norm is the idea of empathy. You must have noticed, like when you're calling up your colleagues now, your workers, your conversation has shifted. You're asking about their health, you're asking about their families, and you're genuinely concerned if they're doing well. So in order to work in the new norm, empathy has to be there. Yet again, accessing the right kind of digital platform. So a lot of organizations are giving flexibility and autonomy in terms of the work processes and creating accountability around the goals and the milestones. I think that's also a new way of how you can ensure the quality of work. And yet again, delayering your organization. I think I can't emphasize that enough. So for example, if you're dealing with a work problem, do the employees or the remote workers have access to the people in the organizations that can help them to resolve that problem? For example, can you call up your head of department or can you directly reach your supervisor? Because COVID has created a lot of novel situations that did not happen before. So in order to ensure the quality of work, you have to also see that you have to, in some way, digitally delayer the organization so that you can create greater accessibility. That's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you so much. We had a lovely discussion, and just sort of those who just joined us now, let me just wrap up what we talked about and what I got from it. We had a lovely discussion. Thank you, Amna. Thank you, Iftikhar, and thank you, Azfar. From what I get from the entire discussion is most of us talked about positivity. So, once we get into situations like that, one of the things that we have to do is be positive. The other thing that I learned today is unlearning. I think this is something we totally take for granted or something we never think about, but unlearning is more important than learning. So, whatever you've learned so far, unlearn it and then restart from the beginning and adapt, accept, and learn. The third thing that I learned was from Azfar Saab was that look for opportunities, look for things that you can do while you're in this situation. Like Amna said, look, enroll in online classes. There are so many online classes. Can I mention Coursera? I'm not sure if I can, but I just did. So, get into those online classes. They're free. Like Iftikhar said, read books. He said exercise. So, there are so many things you can learn. Instead of looking at the negatives and instead of complaining.
It's 5 o'clock.
Okay. So I think with that, we will end this discussion. And thank you so much. And stay safe and stay indoor. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Seema. Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.